You're listening to Pet World Radio, and this is the Addictive Reef Keeping with Tyler Johnson. Stay tuned for live chats, expert guests, tips and tricks, product reviews, and many more topics.
Hey, and welcome back to the Addictive Reef Keeping Show. I'm your host, Tyler Johnson, and today, guys, I have a smile cheek to cheek, ear to ear. I am so pumped to interview Thomas Brown. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but I posted his YouTube channel down below, and I want you guys to check him out. He has been on YouTube, I think, for the last 4 or 5 years. We'll get the right answer here in a second. But he does what I do. He helps inspiring people. He is just there to help anybody who has any questions. He's got this thing called Tank Wars and this documentary film that he's going to be coming out with soon about the aquarium hobby. So, Thomas, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people that don't know who you are, and just give us a little info on your background and how you got into this hobby.
No problem at all. Well, first, I want to thank yourself and Sam for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I'm really excited. And Tyler, it's funny that you say how many years I've been on YouTube. My channel has been up for about a year and 2 months, which is just crazy because I'm just about to hit about 6,000 subscribers, and it's just been moving so fast. But I've been in the hobby now for almost 8 years in the saltwater aquarium hobby. I initially started, like most people, in the freshwater side of the hobby, and probably just after a year, I said I seen not a clownfish, which like most people get into the hobby for. It was a Niger triggerfish, like some of my subscribers have heard me say, and I was just amazed by it. So I went to the fish store, and of course I didn't know anything about saltwater tanks, and I said, hey, can I put that in my freshwater tank? And they said no, and then, you know, the guy started helping me out, and you know, that's how I got into the hobby. And really, I have Tank Wars, which you mentioned, but my first series I started on my channel was local fish store travel. And for that very reason, because when I started in the hobby, who did I get most of my information from? The guys at the local fish store. I mean, the local fish stores are so important in getting people into the hobby and getting, hopefully, the correct information to hobbyists. So I started a series called Local Fish Store Travel, where I go all around the country. I do it for free, and I make videos for local fish stores just so they can promote their business. And I put it on my channel, and I try to make them all different and fun. So I really like that series too. And then I also have Tank Wars, which recently started. I put a few special episodes out. And in Tank Wars, basically two tanks go up against each other in friendly aquatic battle, and then my subscribers get to vote for the winner. And there's different weight classes, nano weight class, all the way up to super heavyweight. And then at the end, the competitors, whoever wins a prize. And the initial first season will start on April 24th, so just in about, I think, about 2 weeks from now. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, Thomas, when it comes to YouTube channels, I honestly, you know, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say you probably have the best YouTube channel to come out. You know, up along with Mr. Saltwater Tank, Tidal Gardens. Those are just a couple people that I look at. LA Fish Guy, is a pretty good channel. But your channel does something different. And the Tank Wars, that's when I started, like, really tuning in. You had a very well-polished channel even before that. But when Tank Wars came out, I was hooked. It's not like watching Pimp My Ride or anything. It's like that show called Pinks or whatever, where you got two cars up, you know, getting ready to race or something. So you did a really good job. It's really well polished, and you know, I commend you for what you do on your channel.
Well, thank you. And when I created my channel initially, I said, well, I guess if people want to here. A lot of people do know how I got into it, but for those of your viewers that don't know how I got into making a YouTube channel of it, I found out about, maybe it's about 2 years now, that I had an inoperable brain tumor. So I have a tumor right now, and I'm getting treatment, and it's getting better, shrinking, but, still a process. And I was working as a corporate recruiter. Years before that, I have a bachelor's and master's in film directing, and I worked for a couple of studios before. But when my daughter was born, I, had to make money. When I first started, when I was doing my master's, and I was working for Time Warner Studios and HBO Studios, I wasn't really making a lot of money. I was just getting coffee for, like, executives. And I was also a cameraman for New York City Transit News, and, I wasn't hardly making money. So I left that and, started recruiting, corporate recruiting, which, made a lot more money. And every year I kept saying, hey, I'm going to get back into film. I'm going to get back into film. And, of course, every year I would get a raise, and, it turned into 10 years. So 10 years later, I found out I had a brain tumor, and I said, you know what? I'm going to get back into film. And so the YouTube channel was part of that. Not only do I do the YouTube channel, but on the side of how I feed my family, I do weddings, I film commercials. I mean, I went full blast into it. And so my YouTube channel is really just for fun and just for me to share the hobby. So when I started my channel, I wanted to make it different. There's a lot of education out there. Mr. Saltwater Tanks gives education, like you said. New York Stilo was another one of my favorites. Tidal Gardens, like you said, I did a video with him before, with Than, a really great guy. But so I wanted to do something different. So what I thought I would try to do is give some aquarium entertainment. Now, you can get some education on my channel, but if you do get education on my channel, what I try to do is interview experts to give education. Because, as you probably know, Tyler, in this hobby, it's really hard to get 100% of everyone agreeing on the info. But I figure if I can interview people with 20 years of experience and so on, we can at least get 90% of the people to agree that the information that I'm giving from my channel is accurate, and so I can feel confident in that. So so I try to, entertain people in the aquarium hobby, and that's where Local Fish Store, World Travel came from, and then also Tank Wars. And now Local Fish Store Travel, even though Tank Wars, I love it, Local Fish Store Travel I love just as much because, Tyler, I'm not sure if you're like me, but what is it that most people do when they go to a different state when they're really entangled in this hobby? Most people, they, look on their phone and try to find a fish store, when they're on vacation, just so they can see what the fish store in that other state looks like. Have you ever done that before, Tyler?
It's one of the top questions I see on any of my groups that I have and everybody else's. I did a video of the Reef Tech store in Medford. I did one video. It did all right. I think it got a couple thousand views and stuff. Mm-hmm. But then after I posted the second one, after he revamped his store and everything, it went nuts. And so many people were messaged, hey, thanks for the video. I got to check out that store. What an awesome tank. So, Facebook is awesome. YouTube is awesome. It's really changed the hobby.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess the next thing I guess I can mention is what I've been working on probably for the past 4 or 5 months. The Kickstarter just ended. Unfortunately, the Kickstarter wasn't a success, but what I'm talking about is a film I am attempting to create called The Aquarium Life. Now, in the film, I'm really just focusing on the marine side of the hobby. I thought it would be maybe too much, and I don't want to make the film too thin to focus on freshwater and saltwater because I just thought it was just so much information that would need to be covered in both sides of the hobby. I would just focus on the marine side since that's the side I'm primarily in anyway. So basically for your listeners who don't know what Kickstarter is, basically I was trying to crowdfund a film. So I was looking to my audience and strangers to hopefully help me raise $20,000 so I can make a documentary about the aquarium hobby, how parts of the saltwater aquarium hobby has been a benefit to the oceans, the breakthroughs we have made in aquaculture, hobbyists, how it's touched hobbyist lives. And, you know, the aquarium hobby is just so powerful. Tyler, I'm not sure if you've seen the last video I put up. It was related to tank wars. It was an interview with a great guy named Cam. And he did you see that? Okay, great.
Yes, well, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, well, I initially I wasn't going to do any more behind the scenes for Tank Wars, but when I heard his story, I just thought that other people would in the aquarium hobby, and not even in the aquarium hobby, would just needed to hear that story. Would you mind if I shared it with your audience?
No, please do.
Okay. Well, so basically, Tank Wars has, like I said, 4 divisions. And in the nano division, I was looking for a tank for a few months. I just could not find another nano tank in Atlanta. And it wasn't that I couldn't find it. I couldn't find someone who was willing, to put their nano tank on Tank Wars, because everyone, what they mostly say, and you even hear him say it, is that I'm not ready. My tank's not ready. That's what a lot of people say. But he was willing, and I heard his story, and I asked him if he would like to share a story. He said yes. So basically Cam is, I believe he's about 25 years old, and a few years back in, I think, 2008, he was in the ocean diving with a few of his friends, and he hit a sandbed, I believe it was, and basically he broke his neck. And not only did he break his neck, he drowned for about 3 minutes, blacked out, washed up on shore, was resuscitated, and now he is basically paralyzed from the neck down with limited use of his arms. But the great thing about this story, the inspirational thing, is that initially he told me he gave up. I mean, you can imagine, Tyler, if this happened to anyone, it would be something that would be very depressing. That would make you depressed, make you give up. And initially he said at some points he did. But later on, someone had recommended that he get a fish tank. And he got the fish tank, and he just said it just brought so much joy back into his life, taking care of life. And that it was one of the reasons I wanted to make this documentary, because a lot of people just think that we like to just keep these creatures as trophies, but it's something that it does to you, being able to take care of life and help it grow. It's just something wonderful, and not even to sound corny, but magical, about our aquarium. And so, if your viewers have a chance, I would highly recommend you just watching that interview just to see how much joy, even though what Cam has been through, how much joy he has and how much of inspiration he is, through his story.
No, Thomas, I think that's really awesome. I'm glad you brought that up. I had a guy approach me, actually the other way around. I approached him. He was trying to raise money through Chase Bank. They have this grant that they give you depending on how many likes you get on Facebook. And if you get 250 likes, you qualify. Well, he had an idea to help veterans through PTSD and even mentally handicapped people through their disease through reef keeping. And I don't know if you've heard of the studies and things like that, but it's very good at healing the body, by having your mind occupied with happiness and low stress. And that's what it does. So I thought it was cool that you shared that, because it helps a lot of people. It helps me. It's one of my biggest stress relievers. I got a lot of stuff that goes on in my life, and I have a rough past, and it's helped me since I was, 8 years old. I've had a fish tank. I love them. So
nice.
I'm glad you shared that story. And I just wanted to let our viewers know that Thomas also has a 200-gallon reef tank. So after our break, which will be probably about 15 minutes from now or so, we're going to come back and talk about his reef tank. Now, I want to kind of jump back into your YouTube channel, and what was the main reason for you to start that, and what were some of the inspiring videos and people that you watched that helped you get to the point where you are now? I mean, you have so many choices when you go into making your YouTube channel. Mine started out with cichlids, and now look at what it is. It's more do-it-yourself videos and saltwater. So, do you have many options down the road for your channel, or do you have a main focus that you see down in the future?
Well, I'm not going to skip ahead. I can get to some of it when we skip ahead and go to my tank. But so the first YouTube channel I watched in the aquarium hobby was LA Fish Guy. All right, and I used to just sit there, and this is when I had a freshwater tank, and I would just sit there and watch him, go and maintain tanks. All right, so then after that, I found New York Stilo and Mr. Saltwater Tank. And, I had a tank by this time, and, I just would go there for, the information that I could get so I could start my tank. And I really think that's really needed, those type of channels. But as far as, like I said earlier, where my channel goes, I thought that people also wanted to see some amazing things that maybe they didn't have a chance to see before. So I thought they might want to see, fish stores for all over the world. Like I said, and